Hi, this is Vicki with Crafting for Fun. Today I want to show you how I made this Emboss Resist card. With an Emboss Resist card, you heat emboss using clear embossing powder, and then you apply ink over the embossed image, and then remove the ink from the area that has been embossed by buffing it with a tissue to create a very vibrant image. I'll show you what this image looked like before it was added to the front of this card. You'll get something like this. Is an embossed resist image. So another thing about this card that I want to share with you is it's an easel card. From the side, I'll show you what it looks like from the side. From the side, it's designed so that the card can basically sit up easel style on its own, so that a person perhaps in a hospital or nursing home, or somebody who wants to display a card on their nightstand or their desk at work or their mantle at home would have an opportunity to look at it from a distance without having to go and pick it up. So this is an easel card, and I'll show you how to quickly make that little mechanism. To make this card, you'll need a couple of things. Of course, you'll need stamps. I'm using the Blooming with Kindness stamp set. I'm using this floral image. And I'm using a sentiment from the For You stamp set. I'm using this Birthday Wishes. You'll need some ink. I'm using Pear Pizzazz and Strawberry Slush. And you'll need some Versamark ink and clear embossing powder. You'll also need a heat tool. In addition to that, you'll need some cardstock products. You'll need a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece of cardstock for your base. I'm using white, and this has been scored at 5 1/2 inches, and it also was scored at 2 3/4 inches. So 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. You'll need a piece of white cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You'll need a piece of pattern paper that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you'll need a piece of paper to do your focal image on, and this piece measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then I'm using a strip of the same pattern paper that measures 3/4 by 4 1/4, and a piece of white that measures 1 1/2 by 4 1/2 to create my stop for my card, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. In addition, I'm adding some ribbon detail with a piece of 1/4 inch ribbon, and I used a butterfly punch and a pearl just to embellish mine, but those are completely optional. So let me get my supplies together and I'll show you how I made this card. I have laid out a piece of copy paper which has just been folded in half, and I'm going to use this to protect my work surface while I do my stamping. This is my piece of white cardstock that measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to lay it down on my work surface, and I'm going to open up my Versamark ink pad. And I'm going to take my large floral stamp, and I'm just going to ink it up. Versamark is a very sticky ink. You want to make sure you have good coverage on your stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp my image down. Just make sure I have really good coverage there. Pick that up. Now I want to close my Versamark pad and remove it from my work area so I can use it another time. Now I'm going to bring my clear embossing powder out, and I'm going to sprinkle that over the image that has been Versamarked. And it will be somewhat difficult to see. You'll be able to see it, but you'll have to maybe angle it in the right light to get a very good look at it. I'm going to shake off the excess. And there's my flower image, and I don't believe you'll be able to see that. Before I begin heat embossing, though, I am going to clean up my excess powder here. I'm just going to put it back in my container. Close it up and set it aside for another time. There we go. So I have created a tool for myself. I covered a piece of just cardboard, extra cardboard from some packaging, and attached a paper clip at the top, and I just use that to hold my image while I heat emboss it so that I can protect or put more distance between me and the heat gun. I'm going to start heating, start letting my heat gun heat up, and so you will hear a loud noise. And I'm going to apply the heat as soon as my heat gun is ready to go, and you'll notice very quickly that the image starts to change and look shiny and wet. As soon as it gets that change in appearance, you're ready to stop applying heat because it's ready to go. If you apply heat too long, your paper will have a tendency to curl up, and you may even burn your paper or your image. happens very quickly. So I'm done. I'm done with my embossing. I can remove that from my homemade tool there. And I'm going to get my inks ready to go. Today I'm using Strawberry Slush and Pear Pizzazz inks, and I'll need I'll need a sponge dauber to use with each ink. So I'm going to set that up, and my image should be cool enough to work with. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to ink up my dauber with the Strawberry Slush, and I'm going to begin in the center of my flower image, and I'm going to make small spiral circles towards the outside. And once I get an area that's about the size of maybe a silver dollar, I'm going to begin to fill in some of those edge pieces. I want my image to be much darker in the center than it is towards the outside. So now I'm going to just work in those extra petals that kind of give the flower its shape. And you'll have to kind of look carefully to see where those are. And this isn't about being perfect, it's about just filling in the color where you need it. There we go. I think my pink is good. And I can always go back and add more to the center if I want a darker center, but you can't take away ink, so I caution you to be judicious with how much ink you put on that dauber. Now I'm going to ink up my green dauber, and I'm just going to apply a little ink just right there to where that stem is. And again, you don't have to be perfect. It is going to extend outside of the stamped image. So I'm going to close my stamp pads up, and I'm just going to grab a tissue. This is just an ordinary tissue that I folded up, and I'm going to begin buffing my image. And by doing so, I'm going to remove any excess ink that was on top of that area that was embossed. That's why it's called Emboss Resist. The area that was embossed will turn a glossy white color, and the area that was not embossed will have the ink on it. And there you go. Look how vibrant that image is. So let me gather my other supplies, and I'll show you how we're going to finish up this card. I have the other cardstock supplies that I told you about earlier in the video, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to bring back my focal image, and I have my stamp already applied to a clear block, and I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to use the same green color ink that I used for my stem, the Pear Pizzazz, and I'm going to just stamp our birthday wishes right on my card. I'm going to go ahead and close my ink up. I'm finished with my stamp. So one thing that I like to do in this particular card is I do like to round the corners. I'm going to use my Crocodile Corner Chomper, but any corner rounder would work. And I just pick two opposite corners. So in this case, I'm going to pick the lower right-hand corner, and I'm going to pick the upper left-hand corner. And I'm just putting a little bit of a radius on those. This is a detail that you might decide to do, or you might decide that you don't want to do. I just like the way that looks. So I'm going to set my focal image aside and bring back my card pieces. I'm going to go ahead and fold my cardstock in half, and it is vitally important that you get very good creases on this card in order to make the easel mechanism work. So I've burnished that very well, and now I'm going to take that, fold that 2 3/4 inch fold, and I'm going to fold it back. And I'm going to burnish that very well. And I'll show you how this looks. You should have something that looks like that. And now I'm going to bring my piece back. That is my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to apply adhesive. Now I would use sticky strip if I were making this for myself. I'm just using snail for the video because it does speed things up a bit. So I'm going to apply adhesive. Whoops, apply adhesive to that. And I'm going to go ahead and take this card piece, and I'm going to line the edges up so that it covers the entire front of my card. And now what you'll have is something that looks like this. So this is the front of the card here, and this is the piece that you adhered it to, and then this is going to be the spring mechanism. And so it will work like this. When you actually stand the card up, the easel mechanism will work like this. So I'm ready to begin going ahead and adding my other pieces. This is my pattern paper piece. It is 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just going to stick it on the front of the card, center it up. There we go. And now I would take some pop dots. Hold on, let me grab those. I'm going to apply pop dots to the back of my focal image to raise it up just a bit. I'm going to put one in each corner and then one in the center. Go ahead and remove the liners. Oops. I'm just going to center that on the front. There we go. And then I tied a small bow using some 1/4 inch pink ribbon and just put a glue dot on the back. And I'm going to go ahead and put that at the bottom by my stem. I just like the extra detail that that adds. And then the front of my card is essentially done. But in order for my easel mechanism to work, for my card to stand up when I want it to, I need to add something to act as kind of a door stop, I call it. So I'm going to use this piece that is 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/4 inches wide. And I'm going to apply it to the center of a piece that is 1 1/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. And if I need to, I can always trim a little bit off. Looks like I have slightly different lengths. And then I'm going to, this is very important, you need to apply something to raise this piece up. So I'm going to put pop dots on the back, and I'm going to be kind of generous. I'm going to use 4. Again, I'm going to remove the liners. Whoops. And then you'll want to decide how far you want your card to sit up. So I'm going to kind of just eyeball that. And then I'm going to take my piece. And let me see. Try to get it as straight as possible. There we go. And so now you see that when I have my card closed, it is perfectly flat. But when I open it up, I just pop it behind that little ledge there, and it sits up as an easel. Now I do want to add one additional detail. This is completely optional again. I'm going to take a butterfly punch and a piece of light pink paper, and I punched a butterfly image that is small enough to fit on my little ledge of my card. Oops. And I'm going to use one of these tiny pearls here. Just going to stick that in the center, and then I'm going to apply that using glue dots. So I'm going to take a glue dot, put it on the back of my butterfly image, bend hem, open my card, and then I'm just going to put that on there for just a little added detail. So there is my card. There it is from the side. That's what it looks like standing up. So if you have any questions about this project or anything that you've seen on my blog, just email me at craftingforfun@gmail.com or check out my blog craftingforfun.blogspot.com for additional craft ideas. I hope you enjoyed today's project, and come back and see me soon.